Alrighty, welcome back to the Universal Thought Podcast, where we share universal thoughts, ideas, concepts, philosophies, and we have all around great conversations with some great people. And today, we got another special guest. So, Shelby County Criminal Court Clerk Heidi Kuhn began her journey with Shelby County government in 2000 as a health programs manager. Throughout her career, she served in various roles, including Executive Director of Crime Victims Center, Deputy Director of Community Service, Director of Training, and Special Assistance and Lead Strategist to the Sheriff, and then elected as Criminal Court Clerk in 2018. Each position has enabled her to positively influence the community, and she remains dedicated to serving the residents of Shelby County. She's a proud wife, mother of two, and a stepmother of two. I present to you Miss Heidi Kuhn.
Hello, everyone. I'm great.
I'm glad you was able to come.
Here. Absolutely.
Yes, all right, we're going to get straight into it.
Okay.
So,
no playing around.
No playing around.
Okay.
First of all, I appreciate you coming.
Absolutely.
I felt like you, I went to the debate and you was very strong, right?
Thank you.
And especially against, so many, I'll say good, strong opponents. You held your own. You actually said some things that made the room go, wow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, including myself, right?
Okay, you'll have to share with me what those were.
Well, first off, let me say this. It's kind of surprising to see people that come from a different area come over to Shelby County and represent the way you did. So you're from Denver, Colorado, right?
I'm from Colorado, yeah.
From
Colorado Springs, yes.
Okay. So first off, tell my audience, who you are. Who is Heidi? I mean, who is Heidi?
Yeah.
And what actually made you want to run for mayor?
Gosh, where do I start? Well, I've been here since '99, and
Okay.
like you mentioned, I started my journey in 2000. And what sets me apart from the other candidates is the fact that I do have that breadth and depth of knowledge within county government, holding all those leadership roles.
Right.
And so this is a natural progression for me, is to run for mayor. And I don't know if you've heard the story, but Mayor Bill Morris was a very good friend and a mentor of mine. And I sat down to have lunch with him about 2 years ago when I was first considering running.
Okay.
And he said to me, and he uses very colorful language, but
Right.
we're sitting there and he puts down his fork and his knife and he looked at me after I said, I'm thinking about running. And he said, well, Heidi, in that southern drawl, why the hell not? He said, you've done the work, you're in the community. He said, this is made for you because this is what you've done. And it's just a second step for me. So It's a natural progression because, as criminal court clerk, I've done a lot of work, but I feel I've kind of hit a plateau and I feel like I can do more for Shelby County as the mayor. So that's what really led me to this position. It's not that I have higher aspirations. I just believe in Shelby County and I just want to better it.
Right. Okay. And you're the criminal county clerk.
Yeah, criminal court clerk.
Okay. Explain to me what that role actually entails.
And most people don't know unless you touch the justice system.
Right.
So, and that's okay. So don't feel bad. Most people don't know.
Right.
So the criminal court clerk is the keeper of the records.
Okay.
And so we maintain all of the records that go through the 9 criminal courts. And we also are the custodian of all of the property and evidence. And I can tell you there are probably about over 1 million pieces of evidence that we have control over. We have 2 warehouses full of evidence.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have to maintain all of those.
Okay.
And then we receive all the fines and fees from defendants. And then something that's very near and dear to my heart is, of course, expungements. And that is something that was a priority for me. And that is something that I have it's my baby. It's what I've fallen in love with. And it's the one thing that I'm really proud of in this office.
And I actually watched a couple of interviews. 10,000 expunges.
Yep, we are just about to hit 10,000 expungements.
Wow.
And I look at it as it's not just expunging a person, but it's helping a family be put back together, kind of like a puzzle piece.
Right.
And it's allowing that individual to get a job, go back to work, go to school, get a loan, buy a home, and become a productive citizen. Right. Because we always look at, well, what are the solutions to crime? Well, granted, the criminal court clerk's office is a small cog in the wheel of justice, but a cog nevertheless. And so I wanted to put forward something that we could do to reduce the crime rate. And so this is actually doing it because it's providing people an opportunity to go and work in the community instead of going back to a life of crime.
So you can actually see the difference in expunges as it relates to crime being lower.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely, because unfortunately when someone goes and applies for a job, that pops up on their background check.
Yeah.
And then they're unable to get that job. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to provide for your family.
Right.
So some of them do go back to a life of crime, and this way it offers that opportunity for them to get that job and to provide for the family. So I'm all about reducing barriers and offering opportunities for people.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing that?
So I was elected in 2018. So we started in 2018. So it's been about 10,000 expungements since I was elected.
Right.
And
okay.
we hold clinics. The next one's actually going to be on April 11th. We have partnered with the Grizzlies, and it's going to be at the FedEx Forum.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of that. So that will be our 33rd expungement clinic. And the great thing about that, Eric, is that it's just not an opportunity for people to come and see if they're eligible, but we have about 25 vendors. And so they can get maybe a job on the spot and get education services, community services, family services, whatever they may need, they can get those as well.
And what date is this?
April 11th.
April 11th.
At the FedEx Forum from 9 to 1.
Okay.
And it's free parking. And the last one we did was a year ago at the FedEx Forum, and I think we saw close to 300 people, because we typically see between 100 and 800.
Okay.
And we can expunge about 20% of those. And we're just really pleased that the Grizzlies find this, to be a priority for them. And so we've partnered with them, and it's been a great success.
Okay. April 11th. I'm coming.
Good.
April 11th. Definitely, you need to come out there. If you're in Shelby County, definitely come out.
Yes.
This is be a good opportunity for you or somebody you know. So, what would be an exception? Why wouldn't somebody be able to get expunged?
And a lot of people ask that question. So, it has to be a nonviolent crime.
Okay.
And usually I'm asked, well, what types of crimes? And usually it's drug-related crimes.
Okay.
So no DUIs, no domestic violence, no manslaughter, no murder, no sexual assault, any of that. Those are not eligible for an expungement.
Gotcha.
So it's usually drug-related charges. And one of the things that I've implemented is called settlement solution. A lot of people have fines and fees that they have to pay before they can get an expungement. And a lot of times it's quite a bit of money. So what I offer is, if you have not paid your fines and fees for 5 years and you owe more than $1,000, if you come and give me 50% of what you owe, I will zero out your balance so that you can get an expungement.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. There's always something that kind of pulls at people's heartstrings, like whether it's like you said, people that need expunges, homeless people, kids. What's that one thing for you that pulls at your heartstring? When
I was 14, I sat on a park bench with a homeless man, and it was a transformative experience. I learned so much about him and kind of where he came from and why, and I think that is really why I have this heart of giving and giving back to the community, and really understanding individuals come from so many different backgrounds, and that I don't judge people for what they've done. We've all made mistakes. You and I have made mistakes. I think that we're old enough now, though. We didn't have cameras at the time.
Exactly.
Some got caught, some didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm not just speaking about expungements. I'm just saying life experiences. And so I think it was at that moment I realized I wanted to be someone who gave back to the community, no matter in what capacity. If it was with homelessness, child abuse, animal abuse, domestic violence, victims of crime, or even defendants. I mean, I just have a heart for giving. And that's, you said, what's that one thing? It's very difficult for me to pinpoint, because I'm open to helping anyone who is willing to receive help. Right.
And you seem like, I believe you seem like that type of person. Everybody doesn't have that morale, right? but I know one person can't do everything by themselves.
Right.
So how do you choose the people that's going to represent you and, be part of your team?
So if I'm like, and I understand it, this is for mayor, right? Correct?
Right,
okay,
right,
so
yeah.
I have always prided myself on choosing a good team around me, because you are exactly right. I can't know everything about everything. I'm not an expert in every capacity.
Right.
So I think what's really important is to ensure that you hire and have experts, because you can't be the weakest link if you are the leader. You have to rely on individuals who have done the work, that understand it, who can make the county better. And so that's what I've always done. In my office now, I've got individuals, my director of operations, he's very familiar with court operations. I have an attorney, a female, who is my CAO, and she knows what to do. I have the head of finance, and he knows finance, because that's not my thing. And so you really need to make sure that we are hiring good people that have an understanding of the work, because if you don't, then you fail. So I've never been one to hire friends or family or church members, because that only sets you up for failure. And I want to succeed. That's the goal.
Right. And you're from Colorado.
Yes.
Why Memphis? Why Shelby County?
Well, I actually got here via my ex-husband. So we moved here from Detroit in 1999, and then we ended up getting a divorce relatively soon after that.
Okay.
And I considered leaving, because I didn't have a job, I didn't have family, I didn't have a network here. But I didn't. I ended up staying, and I started my journey at the health department, which was my step into Shelby County government.
Right.
And I began with assisting with reducing adolescent pregnancy, and also lobbying the state to receive funding for those living with HIV and AIDS. And I realized I was good at what I did, and I really enjoyed working for Shelby County government. And so 26 years later, I'm still here. Right.
So have you always had a heart for people? Because it seemed like everything you did had something to do with helping people.
Yes.
So you've always been that way, or did it kind of
I have always been that way. Growing up, I was taught that you help others however you can, put others ahead of yourself. I've never been one to lead in an ivory tower. I'm always rolling up my sleeves and working alongside, not in front of, just alongside, because I just want to be a part of the work.
Right. How do you feel about people that do you think that most people get into the situations that they're in based on the decisions that they make, or
Not always. I think sometimes it's not necessarily who you are, but maybe what's happened to you.
Okay.
I think when you're looking at childhood trauma, I think that's a real issue, is you didn't make a decision to have childhood trauma happen to you.
Exactly.
And so when we're looking at the school system, I think that's a concern, is, there are children that are dealing with different issues. So that's not a decision. I think in some, yes, I think some individuals may have made a decision to start taking drugs, and then they became addicted, and that was a decision that they've made, but they still need assistance with trying to get out of that. So to answer your question, it would be yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
We was having this conversation the other day, and it was I'm from Memphis. I've been in Memphis my whole life. I'm in Hernando, but I still have an address in Memphis, so I can still vote. Right? Just making sure that this is a waste of time.
No. I never thought that.
I'm still active. But we was trying to decipher what's the disconnect with Memphis, because it's such a what they call crab in a bucket, and we're so against each other, and it's like, well, is it the decision? Where are these decisions? And I deal with finance, I deal with credit and financial literacy. So I listen to the mindset, and I listen to people talk on a regular basis, and I look at the decisions that they make. But they always blame other people for it.
Sure.
Right. What would you say to somebody that probably has a lack of accountability, but has made a lot of mistakes in their life and is catching up to them? What do you think they need to do to change their mindset?
Much like in addiction, if you're not ready to change, you're not going to change.
Wow.
That person can hear everything you've got to say from A to Z, but if they're not willing to accept the information or the advice or take accountability or responsibility for themselves, you're not going to be able to move that person forward. They're going to be stuck, unfortunately.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
We did. I did have a few questions from a couple people that sent in an email that they wanted me to ask, and it is, where is it? There it is. All right. So, Memphis residents often complain about roads, drainage, and trash collection. What changes would you make to fix basic city services?
And I want to clarify something, because you even said it's city. We have to remember that this is Shelby County Mayor.
Okay.
And the Shelby County Mayor is not responsible for the roads, for the potholes. And I understand everybody says that to me. What are you going to do about the potholes? They can do something about the litter. And that is something that is a priority for me. Because if you come from the airport, or if you're coming in from Nashville, what are you seeing all over the roads?
Yeah,
you're seeing mattresses, you're seeing trash, you're seeing, dead carcasses of animals.
Right.
So at one time, I think it was in 2009, maybe even sooner than that, we used to be one of the most beautiful cities, if not the most beautiful city. And I would love to bring us back there. So some of my ideas is to work with TDOT to clean up a lot quicker. And unfortunately, Memphians, Shelby Countyans don't take a lot of pride. You see a lot of littering, and I want to try and bring that pride back.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's sort of like with family.
Right.
Everybody can talk crap about your family, but until someone else starts to talk crap about your family, that's when you become defensive, and we need to change that mindset. You just mentioned that. How do we change the mindset?
Right.
Well, we need to realize what a gem Shelby County is, and we need to stop trashing our county. And so one of the ideas that I had is with organizations, large organizations or businesses, if they would adopt about a mile or two radius around their buildings to keep those clean, then they would commit to cleanliness. And then if we could do that all around the county, then that would be at least a start. And then to work with TDOT with cleaning up the highways, because the smaller cities, the smaller streets, that's the city's responsibility.
Okay. Right. Okay. Man, it's crazy. Melvin actually said the same thing, and I don't want to, compare you two, but I love that answer because it still puts responsibility back on the people. Because of course you can't do everything, so it's like changing the mindset of the people. Like, be more responsible over. This is your neighborhood. Man, that's crazy.
Well, we get compared to Nashville all the time. We get compared to Atlanta all the time.
Right.
Well, what's the difference? Like, we could be that, but the problem is we don't take pride in our own city. There's a lot of blight, there's a lot of trash, and until we start picking up after ourselves, we're not going to be able to move forward.
So, another thing that I always, I pay attention to is like the real estate and property and investments that come into the city. A lot of people don't understand whether or not that's a good or bad thing, right? In your opinion, is that, with outside investors coming in and buying up a lot of property, is it a benefit to Memphis, or, should we be able to participate in it? Like, how would you tell somebody that whether or not that's good or bad?
I think there's a duality there. So I think it's great that we dangle the carrot in front of larger corporations to bring them here.
Okay.
But I'm also a big proponent of investing in small businesses, because if Memphis and Shelby County is not going to thrive, why would a larger corporation want to come to Memphis?
Right.
So I think that once they see that small businesses are thriving, then that's when we can say, hey, this is our great city, this is what we've done. And one of the things I'm looking at is what's called an I-zone. So an I-zone is really identifying neighborhoods and areas to invest in. So it's investing in the school, investing in the small businesses that are around it, creating affordable housing. So then again, that sets up the pride, because if you have home ownership, you're going to be more prideful about your neighborhood, and then it'll clean up the neighborhood. So I think that it's mutually beneficial. To bring corporations here is great if it offers opportunity for employment for individuals, opportunities for people, but I also believe you've got to have them reinvest in our community. You can't have somebody just come in and take our land, take our people, and not give back to the community. So that is something that I would want to see with anyone that we are courting, you know, to have those identifiers as what are you going to do for Shelby County? Right.
You may have already answered this question. So, like you said before, we always get compared to Atlanta, Nashville, stuff like that. But what would be the determining factor on whether or not we can actually compete? Like what would put us in the standard of now you're competing with Atlanta now?
Right. I think development is certainly one thing. I think affordable housing is another.
Okay.
And again, we've got to reduce the crime. I mean, that's an issue here. People don't feel safe. People don't want to live here. I mean, we've lost 30,000 residents in Shelby County. They have moved. And so that is concerning.
Since when?
I think that's been since the last census.
Wow,
Yeah.
30,000.
Yeah, it's a lot. And whether they're moving to Nashville,
Is it the Campbell doing that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
No, it's just me. So we want to try and keep people here.
Yeah.
But the question's often posed when we have these mayoral forums is how do we keep our young people here? And everybody always answers, well, you know, people go off to college, they don't want to come back. But we have to remember, not everyone is going to college. Like we have an opportunity here to provide jobs and internships and with some of the trades. You know, and a lot of these kids aren't going to go to school. So why aren't we offering them these opportunities? They can make bank, you know, with that. I mean, a lot of money just with HVAC or any of them. And so I think we need to look at the schools maybe providing some of these additional trades because we can't compete with other places because we are losing our younger generation. Right.
And I think that's what it was when I heard you on the debate. You talked about trades.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. I know people that have HVAC businesses make more than doctors and lawyers.
Yes.
So you're trying to implement those trades back in schools?
I think it would be great to be able to do that. I think, you know, that is something I really do think that we need to start, especially with higher education, even with Southwest or Lemoyne or U of M. Let's begin to look and assess, and I'm not saying this is my job, it's just a thought, to assess some of the curriculum and some of the pathways of degrees. Are these going to be viable? Like, should we start having more trades? Should we start having more like AI information? Because that is on the cusp. And I want kids to thrive. You don't want them to go to school for a degree that's not going to provide any sort of income for them or any job.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of these, unfortunately, are archaic. And anyway, that's just something that I've thought of. I want to ensure that kids are succeeding, whether it be K through 12 or trade school or college.
Yeah. I when I was in school, high school, if there was a trade situation going on, I would have definitely took advantage of it. Because I didn't really want to go to college. And I said, if I don't get a scholarship, I'm not going. Because we don't have money to go to college, you know.
Right.
But I did end up going later on in life. And I still, you know, I had to pay back the student loan. Well, I didn't, but I do credit, so I got it off my credit. So
yeah.
Let me ask you this. So you're running for mayor. I know you know a lot of things that go on. We got a lot of corruption and stuff like that in Memphis. We've been known for that. But let me ask you this. What's your biggest fear? Given you get that seat, what's your biggest fear?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've never been asked. I don't want to fail. I would never, I mean, in everything I've done, I've had great outcomes. And I just, that's what I'm striving to do, is I really would like to turn Shelby County around. And I understand this is not going to happen overnight. I mean, we didn't get here overnight. And so it's going to take time. But I think that one of the biggest feelings is you don't want to fail. You want to do right by the people who vote you into the office.
Right.
And I don't want to let those individuals down.
Right.
Because they're voting me in for a reason, because they believed in me. And I don't want to lose their belief.
Right. Okay. What do you think is like the biggest problem in Memphis that no one wants to talk about? We know about the crime.
Oh yeah, everybody talks about crime, economic development. I know, and I talked about this at the forum that you were at. Is relationships. We have a real problem with elected officials not getting along, and not even just elected officials. So you have two mayors that don't get along. You have the municipal mayors and the mayors who don't get along. You have the sheriff and the mayor who doesn't get along. You have county commission that self-implodes sometimes. You have city council that implodes at times.
Right.
There are several electeds that don't get along with the mayor. And so my thought is, you got MPD in the sheriff's office, they don't get along. We can't continue to work in these silos. If we can't work together, we're never going to move Shelby County together or forward, because we have to have a unified effort. And that's one of the things that I would love to do in my first 30 days of being elected, is to bring all of the elected officials together and really have these goals of what is it that we can foresee for Shelby County government and the county itself for the citizens.
Right.
Create some goals, create some benchmarks, create some service quality indicators to say, okay, you're going to be responsible for this, and how are we going to do this? And really involve all stakeholders. Because we can't, again, we're talking about, you asked about having a team. Well, I think part of that team is the community. So you have to include mental health, education, youth services, all of it together, arts, all of it. And so I would love to have all of these advisory councils to just kind of sit and have those candid conversations on what they see. Because again, I'm not going to know everything about everything. I have to lean in and listen to the experts.
Right. So I travel a lot, and I try to see I don't say compare, but I look at the difference between the cities that I love going to in Memphis. And so when I get there, the energy is different, right? And then I get back here, I'm like, yeah. But I also know that there's a parallel with the political officials and the energy in that city. Do you think that the political climate kind of influences the actual city?
I think it can. Sense? Yeah, it does make sense. And it's interesting you mentioned that, because I've had this conversation numerous times when people go out of town. One, they either feel safer, and it's strange because they're like, I can leave my car door unlocked, and I don't have to, like, I've been a victim of a crime. I don't know if you knew that I was carjacked in 2022 by gunpoint. And so when I go to different cities and I can fill my car up without, anxiety, and then I come home and it's like, then I feel that again. And that's sad. That's not how we should feel safest at home, not away from home.
Wow. And
so to answer your question, I do believe a lot of that does have to do with the political environment, but I also think it's not just politics. Right. If you're on social media right now, there is such a polarization of you versus them. And everybody is so incredibly angry right now about everything and anything. And nobody can do anything right? And so that is just stirred, and it becomes explosive. And so it's very difficult to walk that fine line of being, okay, I want to be progressive, but I also need to be conservative, but I also need to listen to you, but I need to listen to you. And it just becomes very, very difficult. I'm actually quite fearful of what's going to happen on Monday when Trump is here.
Man.
I have heard potential riots, probably protests, lots of walkouts. I've warned my staff, not warned, but recommended they take precautionary measures, because I don't know if streets are going to be closed or riots are going to happen. You need to take care of you and your family. Right. We're just so explosive right now. And it's not just with Trump. I think it's with others as well. And it's even internal. I mean, we have so much polarization here. And it's interesting, you mentioned I'm not from here. In Colorado, my high school was basically 60-40, black-white. And
60 black, 40 white?
Other way around.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and it was never an issue. And I've even reached out to some of my high school friends, like, asking them if they had a different perspective. Lots of my black friends, I'm like, did you have a different perspective? And they're like, well, a little bit, but not as much. Like, we dated one another. We were all friends with one another. And then I moved to Memphis. and it was completely different.
Okay.
And I lived in Detroit, and it was
Right.
still completely different.
Right.
Like,
Than Detroit?
yes.
Yeah.
So the racial polarization here is something I had never experienced in my life. And I had never heard of colorism either. And I have blacks in my family.
Wow. Okay.
And I never knew that existed. And I always wanted to know, like, when I would go to maybe lunch with an African-American male who's my friend, I would get the side eye all the time. And I never understood. And so people love the fact that I'm not here because I have a different perspective. And, you know, it's interesting. Someone said to me, a black male had said, you know, you are intimidating, but not with the way you think you are. You are intimidating because people don't understand how you get along with blacks so well.
Right.
And it's just who I am. You know, it's how I grew up. It's my family. And I treat people for who they are. And I had 2 black girlfriends that would say, oh, I love Heidi because she doesn't see color. And the other one said, I love her because she does. She just respects it. And so I prefer that because I do. I respect the person.
Right.
So it's just very interesting here in Memphis. The politics, the people, honestly, it's hard to be a Democrat. I'm going to put it out there. It's hard to be a Caucasian Democrat here. And I think that if people were to go elsewhere, and you've traveled, so you probably know a little bit, like Nashville, there are a lot of white Democrats.
Right.
Here, there has been a movement to make the Democratic Party solely black.
Right.
And being a Democrat is not about a color. It's about your morals, your ideology, your feeling, and what you truly believe in. And so I would hope that people would really look at that and not so much on race.
Right. And we definitely have a big issue with that. It's almost like you're automatically a Democrat if you're black.
Yes.
Like you don't supposed to identify.
That's an automatic assumption.
Automatic.
Yeah. Or if you're white, like in my case,
Republican.
I'm obviously a Republican.
Obviously.
Right?
That's crazy.
But I get that all the time. But people have to realize that leadership does not have a gender or a race attached to it.
Right.
And so I always encourage people, before you go out and vote, do your due diligence, learn about your candidates, and you make the decision on who you believe is to be the best individual. Not because of what fraternity they're in, what color they are, what gender they are, anything like that. Figure out who aligns themselves with what you want, with what you want in Shelby County, and vote that way.
So how are you, because that's predominantly what the black people in Memphis do. They go with the person that they like, the one that is the coolest, that everybody knows, that has the clout, whatever the case may be. That's why I like underdogs. I consider myself as an underdog. During your campaign, how are you kind of exposing yourself to people for them to get to know who you really are?
Well, I feel fortunate because we mentioned it before that I've worked a lot in the community.
Right.
And so a lot of people already know who I am just from what I did. And I love that one of my friends says, you be outside all the time.
You be outside?
Yeah, I be outside because I'm in the communities. I'm helping. I'm going to things that were for Young Dolph, and I'm going to memorial services of gang members, things like that. So I think that you've got to have a message, and I think meeting people is what's really important.
Right.
And most people know me as the expungement lady. 10,000 people, that's a lot of touches. They're predominantly African American. I would say probably 90% of the individuals that we have expunged are African American. Now, out of those 10,000, interestingly enough, everyone thinks, oh, it must be all black men. Well, guess what? It's not. 4,000 of those are women. So, and then there's a percentage that are white. So it's just interesting. And again, it's a no judgment zone.
Right.
We all have a past, and that's sort of my slogan, is just because you have a past doesn't mean you can't have a future.
Right.
And that's what I say in regard to expungements, but it also applies to Shelby County. We have a past. We are currently dealing with issues, but I believe we have a bright future. And I am just asking people to give me a chance to give Shelby County a second chance.
Right. Who do you like? Who opinions matter to you? Who's your mentors? Who do you go to, to seek advice from?
The one individual that I always went to was my father, but he has passed. I still speak to him. I don't know if you know Dr. Charles Bond. He is the pastor with Frank Ray at New Salem.
I know Frank Ray.
Okay. So Charles Bond is the generational pastor, and when Frank Ray retires, he will take over New Salem.
Gotcha.
So Charles Bond and I created, and it's funny his last name is Bond, but we created this incredible bond because I was able to give him an expungement. And if I can just tell you his story a little bit, he had spent 21 years in jail and spent thousands of dollars to try and get an expungement, even went to the governor and asked for him to override it and give him a pardon. And he said no. And so he called our dear friend, poor Ricky Floyd, and Ricky said, call Heidi. And so he called me, and he didn't live here at the time. And Charles Bond is a junior. And so he came to me, and we were able to get him expunged for free because I don't charge anybody for an expungement. I'm the only clerk in the state of Tennessee who does that. And he had tears in his eyes, and he said, before I go back home to where he lived, he said, I need to go and take this paper to my father at his grave because I have cleared his name. And he said, I am indebted to you forever. And not only did I make that impression on him, but he has made such an impression on me. So I go to him because he lifts me up. He prays with me. He gives me such great advice. And I just love him dearly, and he's just become family. So he is definitely one person, my father being the other. And, my husband, he is actually in politics, and he has done local, state, and national politics, and he went to school for it. This is his thing. Right. And I'm not just speaking politically, but we have such a great relationship, and we can talk about anything and everything, and he is my rock. And so when we have to go to all these events or we have to meet with all these people, it is so nice to be able to come home, put the garage door down, and just be us.
Right.
And I value that, and I would encourage everyone, every candidate, every person, you have got to make sure that you do some self-care.
Right.
And he's so important to me for that.
Awesome. Y'all never have conflicts with, because you say he's in politics too?
Yeah.
It's never a political debate.
It's our pillow talk. Isn't that sick?
Oh, wow.
So because our lives are intertwined in politics, it's all we talk about 24/7, and it's rather sick, really. But it's our life. And sometimes we really have to say, okay, we're not talking about this right now. We really have to take an intentional break to say, we're not talking about the campaign right now.
Right.
But we understand one another. But no, we've really, and he's also my campaign manager. So sometimes it's difficult. And there's a fine line between being my husband and being my campaign manager.
Wow.
Because we do get mad at each other on occasion, because he'll want me to do something and I'll push back on it. And so there is that dynamic. But for the most part, we get along so well. And being in a somewhat abusive relationship before, it's truly amazing to me that he has made me understand that I can be loved.
Awesome. Wow. And y'all have...
We have 4 kids between the 2 of us.
Gotcha.
Yeah, adult. Okay. They're all adults. So really? I have a 30-year-old daughter, yes, and a 24-year-old son, and then we have 23-year-old twins, the girls.
Okay. What did your family say about you running for mayor? Did they support you, or did they just say, nah, you shouldn't do that?
Well, because I've been in it for so long, I ran as criminal court clerk, and I actually ran before that. It wasn't a surprise to them. And they have been very supportive and helpful. And they're like, well, if this is what you want to do, we're going to support you 100%. I mean, and that's what you need. You can't do this without the support of family. You really can't.
I know that's right. Because running for mayor, I can imagine how much, backlash and criticism and stuff like that. You're going to need some support from your family, right?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have thick skin when you run for office. But at the end of the day, you lay your head down on your pillow that hurts sometimes. Right. You know, you can't have that shield up 24/7.
Right.
You know, it's just, so you need that familial support.
So how do you suppress? Like, how do you, outside of politics, who are you? What do you like to do? I'm
a triathlete, so I run, bike, and swim.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that a lot, and I bake.
Really?
Probably, yes. So, but that's strictly for therapy.
Y'all gonna be friends. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, my father-in-law is so funny. He's like, I will bankroll you to have a bakery because he loves it. I mean, and I post a lot of the stuff I make online, and people are like, you need to have a business, you need to have a podcast, you need to do something. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know, I don't want to monetize it because it is my hobby, it's my therapy. And once you start to monetize something, then it's not as fun anymore.
Yeah, it starts to feel like work.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
So, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I mean, when I have any free time at all.
Okay. Have you gotten any, since you've been running and campaigning, have you gotten any criticism that you felt like was unfair? Like based off somebody not knowing enough about you?
Well, interestingly enough, when I was running and I went to someone and they said, oh, you're going to run for mayor as a woman? No, I'm running as a man. Obviously, you can see I'm a woman, right? You know, and that's not something.
Was it a woman or a man?
It was a man.
Wow.
It was a man. Now, obviously, that's not something I lead with. Like, I'm not trying to get the female vote. I'm not doing this because I'm a woman. I'm doing this because I feel I'm the best candidate. I'm doing this because I feel I have a heart for the people, and I have the experience, and I've worked in the community, and I know what to do. Not because I'm a woman. And I never say I'm a woman and well, duh. I mean, you could see I'm a woman. Right. So that unfair criticism, truly, because I've seen that at this level, it's been a lot more than I saw when I was running for criminal court clerk. Mm-hmm. The sexism has really been interesting to navigate. Not receiving donations or less donations than some of my male counterparts.
Yep.
And I don't necessarily think it's because they don't believe in me, but we are judged so much more harshly. The way we look, the way we talk. You know, are we too aggressive? Or, you know, if we are, then we're the B word. Are we there, or we're too weak? Or,
right.
You know, it's interesting how men are never criticized or judged on the way they look, the way they speak, or anything like that, but we constantly are, you know, and so that's been difficult to navigate. But it is what it is. Like, I'm just going to remain and be my authentic self because no one else can be me but me. And right. So if I don't put forward the real Heidi, you're never going to get to know who she is. And it's not in my interest to try and fake somebody out. And right. So I'm always going to be real with you. I'm not going to try and be somebody else. Right.
I like that. I really do. That's the main thing with me. Be real. Mm-hmm. Everything else should be. Because I can't, and that kind of brings me to my next thing. I know, and again, I know a lot of people in politics. I've actually kind of distanced myself from some people because I've gotten too close to see too much. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, what's really going on?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking you overall, what's your intent? What's your intent, you know, for becoming mayor?
My intent, like I said, is to really change Shelby County. And everybody tells me every time is we need change because they're tired of being where we are. Everywhere I go, everyone's like, I ask them, is anyone pleased with where Shelby County is currently?
It seems like everybody pissed off.
Everybody's pissed off. And I understand there's all these subpopulations of individuals, and you have a strong focus in one area. You might be for education or affordable housing or economic development or reducing crime and law enforcement. Everyone has their niche of what they want done. Right. And there's so much to be done. And I think we can move the needle, but you need to have the right leadership in place. And you have to have somebody who can consensus build and who can be a collaborator. If you've got somebody that is unwilling to work with others, you're not going to move at all. And we need to realize this is Shelby County as a whole. So we need to work with all of the other municipalities. We need to work with the state. Because I look at it as, if you look at the map and Tennessee, where is Shelby County located? It's located in the corner, right? And so when we were kids, we were usually sent where when we got in trouble? To the corner.
To the corner, right. Wow,
right.
Okay.
So, but that doesn't mean that we were bad, right? We just had bad behavior. And so that's sort of how I look at Shelby County, is we may be in the corner, but it doesn't mean we're bad.
Right.
And we can turn this around, and we can have better behavior, and we can be on this pathway. Because unfortunately, the state doesn't give us money because we don't have that relationship currently. The current mayor doesn't even have a lobbyist and wouldn't go up to the state asking for additional funding. And just a prime example is with inmates at the correction center, we get $41 a day when we are the largest county in the state. There are other smaller counties, and they get $91 a day. And that is specifically because we're Shelby County, and they want to punish. And so that is something I want to do. I just want to change that perception. I want to move the county forward. I want this to be a place where people enjoy living, working, and playing, and have that feeling of, I'm glad I'm home from my vacation, not, gosh, I felt better on my vacation.
On my vacation, right. So you said, you and I keep hearing this. Now it's making sense now. So there's a disconnect. There's a lot of disconnects with government officials. Don't nobody get along, right?
For the most part.
So,
yes.
But that literally reflects back on the conditions of the city. If I advocate for, unity. Like, I actually hate to see, people just not wanting to connect with other people for no reason whatsoever. But then they complain about the conditions of Memphis. Don't nobody get along, this, that, and the other. Well, it starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with, not judging people just for the, whether or not they a woman, man, whatever. Like, get to know people.
Right.
That's my whole objective. Universal Thought Podcast. We try to understand how everybody thinks, religion, tradition, whatever. Right.
But you're open to that. And so many people are not open to learning about others. They think one way, and their way is the only way. Right. And that is detrimental.
I hate that. It's about perspective. Everybody has a different perspective based on their life. So what about you? Do you get along with the other maybe candidates or other officials?
I know all the candidates. The only one I did not know very well, the two, is Rusty Qualls, and I did not know Marie Fagans very well.
Okay.
But the other gentlemen, they all have been my friends at one time or another.
Right.
And yes, I actually do get along with other elected officials, always have, because again, I'm a collaborator. I'm like, okay, how can we make this move forward? And I also have a lot of friends at the state. So because I've lobbied before, because I've worked with the state, I understand how it operates. And so I feel like I can make a difference in that regard.
Okay.
So it's interesting that because I've been in county government for 26 years, people are like, gosh, if they ask me, what do you do? And I tell them, they're like, but you're always doing things for your staff, or you're always out in the community. And they're surprised by that, because I guess they think that an elected official gets into the position and doesn't do anything. Right. And I have just changed that perspective. I truly believe in giving back. We mentioned that previously, but within my office too, is we give back to the community. I don't mandate that, but we do certain things in the office voluntarily, like we've made domestic violence kits for women in shelters. We make sack lunches for the unhoused in July. We have a sock drive. We've done food drives. We do things like that because I believe it's important to give back. And my staff may not make a lot of money, but they have huge hearts and they give back to the community. So I'm very proud of that fact. And I've had people tell me there's never been an elected official who has given back like you have.
Right. Okay. And I do see it again. That's another thing with not seeing our officials more, like only just on TV giving speeches. We don't see you. So, well, not you.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't chase the camera.
Right.
This is not a title for me. This is not a stepping stone for me. I believe that this is where I should be, and it's where I'd like to end my career. I have no higher aspirations. And I look at it as going up the stairs to a platform. The platform's it for me. Like, I could retire and I'd be okay.
Right.
And I'm not term limited. So people ask me all the time, why would you run for mayor if you're not term limited? You could keep this job for as long as you want. Because I want to be able to help more people than I currently do within my office. Again, I'm limited, to helping kind of defendants or their families. But think of the opportunity as mayor with corrections, with community services, with law enforcement, all of it, education.
Right.
I want to put my stamp on that. And I want that to be a stamp of approval.
If you have 4 kids, right?
Yes.
They're all grown, but if they were smaller, still trying to understand things, do you think you could run for mayor? And I say that, and I'm going to say this. When I go back and look at leaders, whether male or female, one thing that people don't pay attention to is the resentment they had for them being in leadership, because it took away from them spending time with their family, because they committed so much time to everybody else's family and community. So do you think that if your kids was smaller, you would still be able to run for mayor?
Would you ask a man that question?
Yeah.
I'm just teasing you. Yeah. I think that you need to have a good work-life balance. And I think that you need to do a self-assessment, and that's why you have conversations with your family. And you need to realize, is this what you need to be doing right now? I think it depends on the family dynamic. How old are the children? Can you work and be a mother or a father? It's difficult, but so many of us do it currently. And there's so many single parent families out there, and they're doing it. Sometimes they have 2 and 3 jobs and they still are raising a family. So I would never put a limitation on an individual. I would want them to they need to internalize and assess, is this something they want to do? And believe me, it's not easy. And I always say running for the office is much more difficult than running the office.
Right.
Because it's hard and it's grueling, and we got to grit and grind. And once you're in it, it's a lot easier, because then you can do exactly what you want to do. But it does take time away from your family. It is a sacrifice. And funny enough, my husband, if or when I win, I will be the first female mayor. But my husband is excited because he'll be the first gentleman. And so he's more excited about being the first gentleman than he is about me being mayor, because there's never been a first gentleman.
That's what they call it, first gentleman?
First gentleman.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So he's like, yes, I get to do that. I'm like, okay, babe, you're not excited about me being mayor, but let's get you to be first gentleman.
That sounds like my brother. Hey, Eric, when you get married, bro, all he worried about him being the best man and him in a suit. Like, man,
right?
You ain't gonna be in the wedding. How about
I know.
that? Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
And I'm not gonna hold you too much longer, but I really enjoyed the conversation. There is one more question that I had from an email.
Okay.
It came in. Let's see. So it says. Nah. Okay.
Not what you want to ask.
Yeah, nah.
That's cool. I'm glad you're vetting some of those.
Yeah, that's okay. Well,
you have any last minute questions you want to ask?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with yours.
Well, I do want to ask, how do you? I know as a business owner, podcasts and everything else that I do, I have to learn how to compartmentalize everything that I do, so that I can still, like we were just talking about, make time for family. How do you do that without losing your mind? You know what I'm saying? Because
who says I haven't lost my mind? No, I'm kidding. You do that. I think that you got to figure out what the priorities are, and you have to not give 100% to the job, but you also need to realize you got to give to your family. You've got to give to yourself too.
Right.
You have got to take that time, because if not, you'll burn out. And if you're not good to yourself, you can't be good to others. And so I think it's important that you do take that time. I mean, everybody seems to get caught up in work and, a workaholic. And unfortunately, we look at that as, that's a good thing. And it's actually not, because you aren't taking care of yourself, or if you have a family, you're not taking care of them. You cannot continue on that road, because you're going to burn yourself out. But that also goes back to the previous question you asked me, is putting good people in place around you. Because
Right.
if you can do that, then you don't have to take on that stress of, oh, what are we going to do in this area? Because you can't take on their role or their job. You have to make sure that you trust the individuals to be able to do what they're doing so that you don't have to feel like you have to do everything.
Man, now you preaching to me now.
But it's difficult if you're the only employee, right? So
Right.
if you're a business owner, it is all on you.
Yeah.
But you just have to remember you are the only you, and you need to take time for yourself too.
Right. Awesome. Well, all right. I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna work on that.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do.
yeah,
I get that.
it
I'm
is.
not very good at it either.
Yeah. Well, listen. I appreciate you coming on. Let the people know where they can, donate, where they can find you. Hopefully, maybe contact you.
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, which is www.HeidiKuhnForMayor.com. And that will be a link on that to be able to donate and to read more about my platform, a little bit more about what I see professionally for Shelby County. And I think that you will find out that I am probably the best candidate for Shelby County Mayor.
Awesome. May 5th, early voting is...
Starts April 15th. It's just
15th.
around the corner.
Wow.
And if you have not registered to vote, April 6th is the deadline for that. So please make sure that you are registered to vote. And even if you don't know, make sure that you go to the Election Commission website and you can check your voter status. And so you will be able to see if you are registered or not. And I always encourage people to early vote because you never know what's going to happen on election day. You could get sick, your car could break down, or you have a sick child or something. Right. So early vote because you can go anywhere. You're driving along, you see a sign that says early voting, pull in and vote. And it will be so much more quicker because if you go and have to go to your polling location on election day, which is May 5th, it could take a lot longer.
Exactly. Yeah. And I ran into that mistake the first time I voted. Like, man, I make sure I do this the right way the next time. So, Ms. Heidi.
Thank you so much.
You.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
I enjoyed it.
This has been another episode of Universal Thought Podcast. Make sure you go vote May 5th, early vote April
15th through the 30th.
15th through the 30th. And I'm not going to say who I'm endorsing, but I enjoyed this interview. And may the best man or woman wins.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah.